Now at 6, 20 years after tragedy, the gut-wrenching loss of 9/11 still lingers. We look ahead at how the world has changed as it stops to take pause to honor the innocent lives lost. Good evening. We thank you for joining us. I'm Natalie Pasquarella.
And I'm Chuck Scarborough. In less than 19 hours, the nation and the world will pause on a day that changed life as we know it 20 years ago, the 9/11 attacks.
It was just before 9 a.m. that our city was shaken to the core after the first plane crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. A lot has changed since then. A memorial in Lower Manhattan, where the Twin Towers once stood tall, honors the innocent lives lost.
Long gone are the physical reminders of the attacks, but the impact is still woven through American life. An unprecedented expansion of our military, intelligence, and security, creation of the Transportation Security Administration, the Department of Homeland Security, and of course the war in Afghanistan that President Biden ended last month.
And the numbers. More people have now died of sickness from 9/11 than those who died on that very day. 2,977 lives lost in 3 attacks in 2001. And since that day, 4,627 first responders, survivors, heroes have died from complications and illnesses linked to the attacks.
News Force Chris Glorioso is live in Lower Manhattan with the preparations and the security and how people are remembering this solemn day. Chris?
Well, Chuck, and of course that intense security operation well underway right now, partly because some of these 20-year commemorations are well underway. We are live outside St. Paul's Chapel, which of course, as we all know, was such a refuge for those first responders and volunteers working in that recovery effort on the Ground Zero pile. At the chapel, there's a choral ceremony here tonight. And then just a little while ago at the Memorial, Firefighter Union staged a wreath laying to honor those heroes who answered their last emergency call by laying down their lives on that clear September morning. One day shy of 2 decades ago, more than 340 FDNY firefighters were among those murdered at the World Trade Center. Since then, countless Americans have been inspired by their sacrifice.
I knew I wanted to serve in some capacity, and that could have been as a first responder.
At the 9/11 Memorial, Navy Lieutenant Colin Bernard told us people keep coming up to him, thanking him for his service. Appreciation for military and first responders is a legacy of the 9/11 attacks, and first responders are working overtime to protect this sacred ground 20 years later.
There are no specific and credible threats directed against New York City at this time. And the NYPD is watching, not daily, not hourly, minute by minute.
Friday evening, visible and invisible security measures being taken all around Lower Manhattan, all so people like pilot Bill Fallon can reflect with dignity on lost friends like Charles Chick Burlingame.
You just remember a guy whose name is Chick, and he was a great guy.
Chick Burlingame was the pilot of hijacked Flight 77, which crashed into the Pentagon. The Trentini family from Massachusetts came here to commemorate James and Mary, 2 retirees who died sitting next to each other on board hijacked Flight 11, which crashed into the North Tower.
I don't know if they would still be alive now. They could be. They were both 65 and 67, but we sure wish they were.
James and Mary Trentini were on Flight 11, flying that morning to see their grandkids in California. So it is only fitting that tomorrow their granddaughter is scheduled to read their names at the commemoration. For now, reporting live in Lower Manhattan, Chris Glorioso, News 4 New York.
Oh, Chris, we thank you for that. 20 years ago, United Flight 93 took off from Newark Airport, crashing into a field in Pennsylvania. And today, the airport dedicated a new memorial with steel from the World Trade Center.
A 20,000-pound piece of a steel column from the corner of the South Tower sat in a warehouse for years. It now honors those lost in that new memorial designed by Jason Del Nero. That steel from Ground Zero was placed on top of a piece of black granite with a memorial plaque.
It just took some time to get the right spot, to get the right piece, to get the right design and implementation done, and just happened to coincide now with the 20th anniversary, which I think is fitting.
And the wreaths were also laid to honor those who died, including the Port Authority officers killed in the attacks.
A long line of boats floated past the battery to mark a rarely remembered act of heroism. It marks the greatest water evacuation of people in history. Tugs, ferries, and party boats were used to evacuate approximately a 500,000 people from Manhattan after the attacks. The ceremony honors brave captains and recognizes a moment when saving lives meant more than just following the rules.
There is a capacity limit, but at the time, at the moment, it seemed more importantly to get more people off of the city. So yeah, sometimes the rules have to be broken.
Needless to say, a lot of rules were broken that day. Boat after boat pulled up to the docks in Jersey City, Staten Island, and Brooklyn, with office workers and Manhattan residents trying to escape the chaos, Chuck.
Of the thousands of the lives lost, hundreds were New York's bravest and finest. 2,700
people were killed at the World Trade Center. 343 members of the FDNY. 23 NYPD officers and 37 members of the Port Authority Police.
In Westchester, a new memorial was unveiled to mark 20 years since the attacks. Families of 9/11 first responders gathered at Valhalla near the Kensico Dam to remember those lost. 41 names are etched in 2 granite stones with an eternal light that stands across the entrance to the rising memorial. There will be room for up to 8 memorial stones as the number of those dying of 9/11 related illnesses grows.
He went down there, spent time digging and, on the pile, and he loved being an EMT. And the fact that he's being honored this way, it's not just for us, it's also for him.
And this project was spearheaded by Westchester County and a committee co-chaired by a retired police officer.
Tomorrow, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President George W. Bush will visit the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The names of passengers will be read at 10:03 when Flight 93 crashed into a field after being hijacked. Passengers fought back to prevent it from crashing in Washington. All 44 people on board died. In Washington, D.C., a tribute of light will shine bright again this evening above the Department of Defense headquarters through early Sunday morning. It's to honor the 189 people killed at the Pentagon when American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into it.
An FDNY firefighter is swimming around Manhattan for a good cause 20 years later. Andrew Kane's family and friends cheered him on as he jumped into the Hudson this morning. A few years after 11, he volunteered with the FDNY counseling unit to help his fellow firefighters deal with the stress of the job. Today's swim is to raise awareness that firefighters and first responders all need help and that it's okay to reach out.
We think of firefighters as, strong and, they're running in when everybody's running out. And the truth is, it doesn't make them any less strong, any less of a person, man or woman, to seek help.
And of course, we've been tracking Andrew. He is almost finished with that swim around Manhattan. He says swimming the nearly 30 miles is not just about mental health awareness, but also about honoring the 343 firefighters who were lost on 9/11.
And we will be sharing the stories of victims, survivors, first responders, and their families leading up to the September 11th ceremony 20 years later. We invite you to join us for our live coverage tomorrow starting at 6 a.m. on air, online, and on the NBC4 New York app. We have other news to get to at this hour. Breaking news just coming in of a hospital fire in Queens. Citizen video shows flames, and you also see large plumes of dark smoke coming from the roof of St. John's Hospital. This is in Far Rockaway. We don't exactly know how it started yet. We're working to gather more information for you, but we'll have any new information in this newscast and also on News 4 at 7 coming up.
All right, and up next as we continue for you, other top stories, remembering the power outage that shut down the subways last month. We now have a cause, and you might not believe it. And a wild crime spree. Investigation into Brooklyn. An explosion goes off at an apartment in Brooklyn when a man on a dirt bike smashes windshields. The search for him.
And lots of sunshine as we head into and through the weekend, and even a little taste of fall as we roll through the overnight. We'll have your full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Do you remember that power outage? It shut down half the subway system last month. All of the numbered lines went off the grid. Hundreds rescued from powerless trains.
Well, now we have a cause. An investigation found that it was caused by human error. A simple singular switch was flipped that crippled the underground. News 4's Adam Harding is live in Long Island City with how something like this could happen. Adam?
And Chuck, the reason, according to investigators, apparently there was some type of plastic guard that is normally over the button that would prevent anyone from accidentally pressing it. And in this case, they say that plastic cover was not there.
It was quite the admission Friday from the MTA after investigators confirmed last month's subway power outage that stranded passengers wasn't due to a power surge as first believed. Turns out they say it was human error.
I am deeply disappointed in this, and I say to our customers, this cannot happen.
Who could forget all those who had to be evacuated after the L and all numbered train shut down on August 29th?
People were getting anxious and it's claustrophobic. It's really hot in there, it's tight.
So what exactly caused the panic and confusion?
It appears that a button was pushed accidentally that was not supposed to be pushed.
Yes, a button. A switch in the control center, likely all an accident, as investigators say it was missing the plastic cover designed to keep it from getting pressed.
We can't have people who are confused or not perfectly trained for the emergency doing things that are actually mistakes that make the emergency worse.
If it's so easily accessible, like that's just not a very good design.
The governor tonight calling for an operations review.
Come on, guys. One switch? Really?
As riders rail against the subway, the MTA is promising they'll get back on track.
To our customers, we make the pledge. We're going to fix this, and we're going to do it fast.
Tonight, the governor is saying that New Yorkers deserve confidence in the subway. They say it is their job to restore that confidence immediately. We're live tonight in Queens, Long Island City. I'm Adam Harding, News 4, New York.
All right, Adam, thank you. In Brooklyn, the police are looking for a man who set off an explosive device inside a Bed-Stuy apartment building this morning. Officers say it was probably a large firework, but it did cause some extensive damage. Prosecutors say he may have been targeting a woman and child inside one of the apartments. Family members of his say, and he says no one was hurt. While riding away on a dirt bike, though, the police say he smashed into the windshields of 14 cars parked along Madison Street.
All right, still to come tonight at 6, going beyond the name on the 9/11 memorial.
There's not been a chapter of my life that I have gone through that I haven't thought that I'm doing it and she didn't get to do it.
A sister, a daughter, childhood friend, and neighbor. The personal connection to a young woman killed on 9/11 and the frustrations that remain for her family 20 years later. Lester Holt's also here at Ground Zero with us, and he joins us now with a look at tonight's special edition of Nightly News.
Chuck, good to have you. Good to see you here. Tonight we're going to be exploring the voices, some of the sounds, and the oral record of the history in a special edition of Nightly News. We're also going to look at changes in security and how that has evolved over the last 2 decades when we see you tonight on Nightly News.
All right, Lester, thank you. We will see you real soon. We want to get over to Storm Team 4's Dave Price to get a check of the weather. It's a little breezy from where we are, Dave.
All right, Natalie, it is going to be a pleasant evening, though, as we head on into the rest of the night. 73 degrees is where we're going to start with a west-northwest wind at about 9 miles per hour. We could see some breezes higher than that down in the southern tip of Manhattan where you are. Dew points at 45. That's dry air, so beautiful as we head into and through the weekend. Rough surf. If you're going to the coastline this weekend, please watch because the rip currents are going to be dangerous because of Hurricane Larry in the Atlantic. Warm weather comes our way, and as we head into next week, we're going to be in the upper 80s at some point. We'll talk about the timing in just a moment. 72 in Poughkeepsie right now, 73 in Islip, 72 in Clinton, and 72 in Belmar. Radar and satellite shows clear skies. That's what we're going to enjoy over the next 48 hours. High pressure is rolling on through, and as it does, eventually it's going to spin up some warmer air coming in our direction, and that's when the temperature starts to climb. Dew points as well as we head into Sunday, up to about 61, and then getting sticky into Monday and Tuesday just as the thermometer begins to really peak. The getaway forecast looks great both days for places up north, Woodstock, Beacon, and Bear Mountain. And if you're going to the beach, Sunday the warmer day, but keep in mind, water conditions dangerous. Watch for a high risk of rip currents along the south-facing shores of the city and the island and down to the Jersey Shore as well. Don't forget, still plenty of hurricane season left, although we seem to be at the pinnacle historically metaphorically speaking. Next chance of rain as we head into Wednesday. Thunder showers. Could see some residual showers as we head into Thursday. That's a quick look at the weather picture. A quiet pattern over the next several days. Back to you.
All right, Dave, thank you. All this week, News 4 has been going beyond the names at the memorial here in Lower Manhattan. Nearly 3,000 are inscribed here. One is very close to my family, Catherine Fairfax McCrae. Cat McCrae, to those who knew and loved her. Cat was a neighbor, a childhood friend of both my children. We mourned all who were lost that day, but our hearts especially ached for Cat. She was 23, beginning the next chapter in a life already filled with accomplishment. By all accounts, Cat was a superb student, athlete, and friend. Editor of her high school newspaper, team co-captain in 3 sports, Princeton honors graduate. She'd just begun a new job with Fred Alger Management at One World Trade Center. In a single moment of unspeakable cruelty and horror, Cat was gone. And a family of 4 became a family of 3, clinging to their memories and struggling with their loss, even at a distance of 20 years.
The shock of it, I mean, the horror of what happened took years for me to accept.
You raised her as well as any parents could. You protected her from everything, all harm, but you could not protect her from an ideology that celebrated the murder of innocence, that glorified it.
And we think about that a lot. I mean, my friends would have said, oh, you're so overly protective. And there she was, murdered in downtown Manhattan, not on a trip on some Botswana river or something. It was right there in our backyard.
Here we are, 20 years later, dealing with terrorists in exactly the same country. We're right back where we started.
For Cat's father, grief is equal parts loss and anger. Anger that the government didn't stop the attack. Anger that files on Saudi Arabia's potential involvement in the plot are still being kept secret.
It's frankly just repulsive. And to continue to let this ideology exist in the world.
You know, there's not been a chapter of my life that I have gone through that I haven't thought that I'm doing it and she didn't get to do it.
Annie McCrae was 19 when her big sister was killed. Married now with 3 boys. And memories so vivid, so indelible, it almost seems Cat is still right there.
I hear her voice. I do hear, like, everything I do think, you know, would my sister be proud of this? I feel her and who she is saying, Annie, you really shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't say that, like being critical of her little sister. I think about her all the time, I would say, as I carry through my life and make sure that she would still approve.
Shortly after Cat was killed, the family established the Cat McCrae Fund to honor her legacy of academic excellence.
The fund supports programs for inner city children from low-income communities.
There are now 2 Cat McCrae libraries in city schools, and support for Harlem Academy, a place where Cat's mother finds purpose that helps ease her grief, teaching art history.
How did the artist make him look strong?
He looks strong because of the nails that he has in his body.
Through these kids, there was a connection to Cat, for me. Cat had so many opportunities, Annie did. I want these children to have those same advantages.
And at home, there was always a door open to life while Cat was alive. Their pictures.
I have now lived longer without Cat than with her. But you look at the pictures and she's like right here. Cat and I are playing in a pile of leaves in the backyard. But we're just playing and we're wearing matching sweaters, which is quite sweet.
She's looking at a puppet show here on her 3rd birthday. Such concentration.
That was a birthday party on a boat.
This is our Christmas card with our dog, Charlie.
You can see how she had progressed from a beautiful young girl to a slightly older, but still extraordinarily beautiful.
We had a photographer come the summer of 1995 to take family pictures, and little did I know, I'm so glad we took them. Yeah.
This is at her 21st birthday.
She was a captivating child, and I would say she remained that way all her life.
It's just a flow of marvelous memories with Kat.
And, you know, when there are no more photos to take, you hang on desperately and dearly to the ones you have.
The Spectrum Sports Desk is brought to you by Spectrum Mobile. Spectrum Mobile has the most reliable service coast to coast. You can save up to 40% at spectrummobile.com.
The Yankees and Mets meet in Queens starting tonight. This year's Subway Series, an important part of the 20th anniversary of 9/11, just as baseball was such a big part of the city's healing back in 2001. On the field, these teams are struggling, each seeing a chance to meet the other as a chance to jumpstart their stalling playoff hopes. The Yankees arriving in Flushing fresh off getting swept by the Blue Jays. Aaron Boone believes his team can turn it back on. Luis Rojas knows his Mets are desperate too. This could be an emotional ride this weekend. Winning matters, of course, but the Mets and the Yankees want to honor this difficult anniversary the right way.
They're ready to go tonight. They're looking forward to a great weekend series against the Yankees, and we know that there's going to be a lot of emotions in each game with the meaning of the day.
Whether it's hats with first responders, fire, police, anytime you put that on, there's some emotion tied to that, and there's some honor tied to that, and some responsibility tied to that.
You will see those first responder hats, but the Mets will also wear special home whites on Saturday with New York across the front instead of Mets. They'll have the flag and a 9/11-01 on the right sleeve. The colors will be similar to what they wore back in 2001. Earlier today, Noah Syndergaard and Rich Hill visited this firehouse in Woodside, Queens, the home of Engine 325 and Ladder 163. They lost 2 firefighters on September 11th, 20 years ago. And the players presented jerseys to the crews. They signed a whole bunch of autographs and a whole lot of smiles, too. Syndergaard says, by the way, he is optimistic he could pitch before the end of this season. At the U.S. Open, Daniil Medvedev has reached the men's final with a win this afternoon. Novak Djokovic and Alexander Zverev meeting tonight. But at Citi Field, it is sure to be a stirring night, and Chuck and Natalie, a stirring weekend. Baseball's such a big part of it.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
all
indeed.
right. John, we thank you for that. And we're about 31 stories up here, Chuck, but we've been watching people come and go from the memorial all day, the past few days, and I know you were down there earlier.
They're all very respectful. They always are down here. When I come down here and see them, they're always respectful. And I did mention it at the 5 o'clock, but I saw an American Airlines crew in uniform down there. They were coming to lay wreaths at the memorial. And it took me immediately back to what was going on those airplanes on that morning. The horror that happened, I just sort of stopped for a second and had to gather myself.
NBC Nightly News is coming up next.
Closed captioning provided by Toyota. Let's go places.